The alarm screamed through the monitoring station like a dying animal. Commander Zixathera's 4 eyes snapped open from her meditation cycle, her blue skin rippling with concern. In her 50 years of service to the Galactic Council, she had never heard that particular sound. It meant only one thing. Something impossible had just happened. "Report," she barked, her voice echoing through the metal corridors as she rushed toward the command center. Her long legs carried her quickly past the sleeping quarters where other crew members were now stirring from their rest. Lieutenant Corax looked up from his station, his reptilian features tight with worry. "Commander, we have detected an energy signature in the Kepler void. It's impossible." Zixthera felt her blood turn cold. The Kepler void was forbidden territory. It had been for over 200 years, ever since the humans had destroyed themselves in their reckless experiments. The entire sector was sealed off, marked with warning beacons that screamed danger to any ship that came close. "What kind of energy signature?" she asked, leaning over Corax's shoulder to study the readings. "It's a ship, Commander. The computer says it's human design." The words hit Zixthera like a physical blow. She stepped back, her mind racing. Humans were extinct. Everyone knew that. They had wiped themselves out when they tried to experiment with dark matter, tearing holes in reality itself. The Galactic Council had spent decades cleaning up their mess, sealing the dangerous areas they had created. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Run the scan again." Corax's claws clicked against his controls. "I've run it 5 times, Commander. The signature is definitely there. It's weak, but it's real." Zixathera moved to the main display screen. The Kepler void stretched before them, a dark patch of space where stars seemed to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at. Right in the center, a small red dot blinked steadily. "How long has it been there?" she asked. "Unknown, Commander. It just appeared on our sensors 20 minutes ago, but the energy patterns suggest it's been drifting for a very long time." The commander's mind raced through possibilities. Could it be a trap? Some enemy using old human technology to lure ships into the forbidden zone? But who would be crazy enough to enter the Kepler void? The space there was unstable, twisted by the humans' final experiment. Ships that went in rarely came out, and those that did were often damaged beyond repair. "Send a message to Council headquarters," she ordered. "Tell them we need immediate instructions." "Commander," another voice called from across the room. Science Officer Veltara approached, her insect-like features clicking with excitement. "I've been analyzing the energy signature. It doesn't match any known human ship design from before their extinction." Zixthera turned to face her. "What do you mean?" "The technology appears more advanced than anything humans had developed before they disappeared. The energy output is unlike anything in our databases. It's as if—" Veltara paused, her antennae twitching nervously. "As if what?" "As if they continued developing technology after they were supposed to be extinct." The command center fell silent except for the gentle hum of machinery. Zixthera felt a chill run down her spine. The humans had been dangerous enough with their old technology. The thought of them surviving somewhere, developing even more powerful tools, was terrifying. "Commander," Communications Officer Jack Mull called out, "I'm receiving a priority message from Council headquarters." "Put it through." The main screen flickered and the stern face of Council Leader Mordun appeared. His gray skin looked even more wrinkled than usual and his 3 eyes showed deep concern. "Commander Zixathera," he began without greeting, "you are to maintain your current position and observe only. Under no circumstances are you to approach the detected vessel." "Understood, Council Leader. But if it really is human technology, that is exactly why you must not approach," Mordun interrupted. "We have spent 2 centuries containing the damage caused by human recklessness. If they have somehow survived, we cannot risk them spreading their dangerous experiments again." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Zixthera stared at the red dot on the screen. Somewhere in that twisted space, a ship drifted alone. If there were really humans aboard, they had been waiting in that nightmare for over 200 years. "Commander," Veltara spoke again, "I'm detecting something else. The ship appears to be damaged, but not in any way I've seen before. Show me." The screen zoomed in and Zixathera gasped. The ship was indeed human in design, but wrong somehow. Its hull seemed to bend light around it, creating strange shadows that moved independently of the vessel itself. Dark streaks ran along its surface, looking almost like burns, but they pulsed with their own dim light. "Those markings," Corax whispered. "They look like cracks in space itself." Veltara's readings confirmed his observation. The damage isn't to the ship's hull, Commander. It's to reality around the ship. Something has scarred the fabric of space-time itself. Zixathara had heard stories of such things, old tales from the cleanup crews who had worked in human space after the extinction. They spoke of areas where reality was thin, where the laws of physics worked differently. Most scientists dismissed these as exaggerations, but looking at the readings now, she wasn't so sure. Are there life signs? She asked. Veltara worked at her console for several minutes before answering. It's difficult to tell through the spatial distortions, but I think, yes, very faint, but there's something alive on that ship. The implications hit everyone at once. If humans had survived their own disaster, if they were still alive after 2 centuries in the most dangerous region of space, what did that mean for the galaxy? The Galactic Council had built its entire authority on being the civilization that survived humanity's destruction. They had taken over human worlds, divided human resources, and told themselves they were preventing future disasters. Commander, Jekmol called out again. I'm picking up a transmission from the ship. Impossible. Nothing can broadcast through the interference in the void. Nevertheless, there's a signal. It's very weak, and the language is... It appears to be human English. Zixthara's heart pounded. Can you translate it? Working on it now, got it. The message is repeating. It says, "This is Dr. Marcus Chen of the Earth Expedition vessel Prometheus. If anyone receives this message, please know that we have learned much in our time away. The damage can be repaired. We're coming home." The command center erupted in nervous chatter. Zixathara raised her hand for silence, but her own mind was spinning. Dr. Marcus Chen was a name from history, one of the human scientists who had disappeared just before the final disaster. If he was really on that ship, if he was really alive, then everything the Council believed about human extinction was wrong. She looked at the twisted space surrounding the mysterious vessel and made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Despite her orders, despite the danger, she had to know the truth. Corax, prepare the ship for movement. We're going to investigate. Commander, our orders were based on the assumption that humans are extinct. If that assumption is wrong, then everything changes. Prepare for departure. As her crew reluctantly began their preparations, Zixthara stared at the impossible ship floating in impossible space. Whatever they found there would reshape the galaxy. She only hoped they would survive to report it. The journey into the Kepler void felt like descending into madness itself. Zixathara watched from the bridge as normal space gave way to something far more disturbing. Stars twisted into impossible spirals, and the darkness between them seemed to move with its own hungry life. Hull stress is increasing, reported Engineering Chief Takvar, his rocky features showing concern. The spatial distortions are affecting our structural integrity. How much farther? Zixthara asked, gripping her command chair as the ship shuddered around them. Approximately 10,000 kilometers to the human vessel, Corax replied, his voice tight with concentration. But Commander, I'm reading something strange. More strange than twisted space and impossible human ships? The vessel appears to be responding to our approach. Its energy signature is changing. On the main screen, the distant ship began to glow more brightly. The dark streaks along its hull pulsed with increasing frequency, like a heartbeat speeding up with excitement or fear. Veltara looked up from her science station, her antennae practically vibrating with nervous energy. Commander, I'm detecting an artificial intelligence signature from the ship. It's trying to communicate with us. Trying. Why can't it? The communication protocols are unlike anything in our databases. It's as if they've developed an entirely new form of information exchange. Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered, and every screen displayed the same message in perfect galactic standard. Welcome, friends. We have been waiting so long for visitors. Please come closer. We have much to share. The crew exchanged worried glances. Zixthara felt a chill run through her body. How did it access our systems? Unknown, Commander, Veltara replied, working frantically at her controls. It bypassed all our security measures like they weren't even there. Another message appeared. Do not fear us. We are not the humans you remember. We have learned much in our long journey through the spaces between spaces. The spaces between spaces? Zixthara muttered. What does that mean? Commander, Jekmol called out from communications. I'm receiving a direct transmission from the ship. Audio only. It's in human English, but our computers are translating automatically. Put it through. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking with calm authority despite the impossible circumstances. This is Dr. Marcus Chen of the expedition vessel Prometheus. I know our presence here must be confusing and frightening. We are not hostile. We seek only to return home and heal the damage that was done so long ago. Zixthera found her voice. This is Commander Zixthera of the Galactic Council vessel Meridian. Dr. Chen, according to our records, you should have died over 200 years ago. A sound that might have been laughter came through the speakers. Time works differently when you travel between realities, Commander. From my perspective, it has been only a few months since we began our mission, but I understand your confusion. Between realities? We discovered that our experiments with dark matter had torn holes not just in space, but in the barriers between parallel dimensions. When we realized the damage we were causing, we had a choice. Stay and watch the galaxy destroy itself, or leave through those holes and try to find a solution from the other side. The explanation should have sounded insane, but somehow it made terrible sense. Zixthera had read the classified reports from the human territories after their extinction. Reality storms, space that folded in on itself, ships that arrived at their destinations before they had left. The humans had broken something fundamental about the universe. You're saying your entire species fled to other dimensions? Not fled, Commander, evacuated. We took responsibility for our mistakes and removed ourselves from this reality before we could cause more harm. We've spent 2 centuries learning to fix what we broke. Then why are you back? A pause. When Dr. Chen spoke again, his voice carried a weight of terrible knowledge. Because the damage is spreading again. Our departure slowed it, but didn't stop it. Without intervention, this galaxy will tear itself apart within the next 50 years. Veltara looked up from her readings, her face pale. Commander, he's right. I'm detecting subspace fractures throughout this entire sector. They're growing. The Galactic Council has been using technology derived from our research, Dr. Chen continued. They thought they were being careful, but they don't understand the underlying principles. Every time they use those technologies, they make the problem worse. Zixthera felt the foundation of her world cracking. The Council had built its authority on preventing human-style disasters. If they were actually causing them... Commander, Corax interrupted, we're close enough to dock with the human vessel. Their docking bay is... It's opening for us. On the screen, a section of the human ship's hull was folding back like flower petals, revealing a perfectly sized docking bay. The precision was impossible. They hadn't sent any specifications for their ship. How did they know our ship's dimensions? Takvar asked. Dr. Chen's voice answered as if he had heard the question. We've been observing this reality for some time, learning about the species that survived. We know about your ship designs, your cultures, your fears about us. We understand why you hesitate to trust us. Zixthera made another decision that would haunt her forever. Proceed with docking. As their ship settled into the alien docking bay, she noticed something disturbing. The walls around them seemed to shimmer and shift, as if they were looking at them through water. But more unsettling were the symbols carved into every surface. Not human writing, but something that seemed to speak directly to the mind. Atmospheric readings show the ship contains breathable air for multiple species, Veltara reported, including perfect atmosphere for each of our crew members. That should be impossible. The docking sequence completed with a soft thud. Through the viewports, they could see the interior of the human ship. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Organic curves blended seamlessly with crystalline structures that pulsed with soft light. Technology that looked grown rather than built lined the corridors. Commander, Dr. Chen's voice came through their communications again. I will meet you in Docking Bay 7. I am alone on this ship, though I was not when we began our journey. Please bring your science officer. She will want to see what we have learned. Zixthera selected a small team. Veltara for her scientific expertise, Corax for his tactical knowledge, and 2 security officers. As they prepared to leave their ship, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something that would change everything they thought they knew about the universe. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and they stepped into the human ship. The first thing that struck Zixthera was the smell. Not the recycled air of a normal spacecraft, but something like growing things and clean rain. The second thing was the sound, or rather the lack of it. Despite clearly being an active vessel, the ship was nearly silent. They walked through corridors that seemed to adjust their lighting and width to accommodate the visitors. Veltara ran her scanner continuously, muttering in amazement at the readings. Finally, they reached a large chamber where a human male waited for them. He appeared to be in his 40s with graying hair and kind eyes. But something was wrong with him. His image seemed to flicker occasionally, and when he moved, reality bent slightly around him. "Welcome aboard the Prometheus," Dr. Chen said, spreading his arms in greeting. "I apologize for any discomfort. I'm still synchronized with quantum time, which makes me somewhat unstable in normal space." "Quantum time?" Beltara asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Time works differently between dimensions. To serve as an anchor point for this mission, I had to synchronize my personal timeline with multiple realities simultaneously. It's temporary, but it allows me to exist in several dimensions at once." Zixathera stared at the man who should have been dead for centuries. "Dr. Chen, I need to ask you directly. Are you really human? Are you really Dr. Marcus Chen?" He smiled sadly. "I am as human as I ever was, Commander. But I am also more than I was. When you spend time in the spaces between realities, you learn that identity is more flexible than we thought. I am Dr. Marcus Chen, but I am also the culmination of thousands of versions of Dr. Marcus Chen from thousands of parallel universes, all working together to solve the same problem." The implications were staggering. Zixathara felt as if the universe had just become infinitely larger and more complex. "What do you want from us?" she asked. "Help," Dr. Chen replied simply. "The Galactic Council needs to know what's coming. They need to stop using the technologies that are accelerating the dimensional collapse, and they need to prepare for humanity's return." "Return?" "We're coming home, Commander. All of us." Dr. Chen led them deeper into the ship, through corridors that seemed to pulse with living energy. Zixathera noticed that the walls were not made of metal or any material she recognized. They looked organic but also crystalline, shifting between states as if they couldn't decide what they wanted to be. "What is this ship made of?" Feltara asked, running her scanner along the walls. "Matter that has been convinced to behave differently," Dr. Chen replied. "When you work in multiple dimensions simultaneously, you learn that the rules of physics are more like suggestions. Reality is much more flexible than most species realize." They entered a vast chamber that took Zixathera's breath away. The room stretched impossibly far in all directions, filled with floating screens showing images of star systems, galaxies, and things that hurt to look at directly. At the center stood a pillar of pure light that seemed to contain swirling galaxies within its structure. "This is our mission control center," Dr. Chen explained. "From here, we monitor the health of reality across thousands of parallel dimensions." Korak stepped forward, his reptilian features showing amazement. "How many realities are there?" "Infinite," Dr. Chen replied simply. "But we focus on the cluster of dimensions that were affected by our original experiments. About 50,000 realities where versions of humanity made the same mistakes we did." 50,000, Zixathera whispered. "In some dimensions, we caught the problem early and fixed it. In others, entire galaxies were destroyed before anyone understood what was happening. This dimension, your reality, falls somewhere in the middle. The damage was severe but containable." Dr. Chen waved his hand and the screens around them changed to show what looked like a map of the galaxy. But instead of stars, it showed flowing lines of energy connecting points of light. "This is what reality actually looks like," he explained. "Everything is connected by quantum threads that allow information and energy to flow between dimensions. When we started experimenting with dark matter, we were actually cutting these threads." Veltara was studying her scanner readings with growing excitement and terror. "Commander, the energy readings in this room are off the scale. According to this, there's enough power here to destroy a star system. Or heal one," Dr. Chen added. "Power itself is not dangerous. It's how you use it that matters. We learned that lesson the hard way." He gestured again, and the screen showed images that made Zixathera's heart race. Fleets of ships unlike anything she had ever seen, filled with beings that looked human but also somehow more than human. Cities that floated in space without support, forests growing on airless worlds, creatures made of living light. "This is humanity now," Dr. Chen said with obvious pride. 200 years of growth and learning in dimensions where different laws of physics apply. We've become something new while remaining true to what we always were." "What did you always were?" Zixathera asked. "Explorers, problem solvers, survivors. And when we make mistakes, we take responsibility and fix them." The screens changed again, showing detailed readings of their current location. Zixathera could see her own ship looking tiny and primitive compared to the technology surrounding it. Commander, Dr. Chen said, his voice becoming serious, I need to show you something that will be difficult to accept. The Galactic Council has been lying to you about human extinction. What do you mean? They knew we weren't really extinct. They've been monitoring our presence in parallel dimensions for decades. They've also been suppressing information about the reality damage, because admitting it exists would undermine their authority. New images appeared on the screens. Zixthera recognized council meeting rooms, classified documents, and recordings of conversations between high-ranking officials. Her own species leaders were clearly visible, discussing the human problem and maintaining the cover story. This is impossible, she said. But even as she spoke, she remembered strange orders that had never made sense, classified missions to investigate spatial anomalies, and fellow officers who had disappeared after asking too many questions. I'm sorry, Commander. I know this is hard to accept, but your leaders have been using technology derived from our research, while publicly claiming we were too dangerous to study. They've been causing exactly the kind of damage they warned everyone about. Corax was studying the displayed documents with growing anger. These reports? I wrote some of these reports. They were classified above my clearance level. How do you have access to them? Information flows between dimensions much more easily than matter, Dr. Chen explained. We've been watching, learning, preparing for the day when we could return and help fix the damage. Why return at all? Veltara asked. If you're safe in other dimensions, why risk coming back here? Dr. Chen's expression became sad. Because this is our home. Because the beings living here don't deserve to die for our mistakes. And because we've learned that running away from problems doesn't actually solve them. He waved his hand again, and the screens showed images of space itself cracking like broken glass. Star systems were being pulled into impossible shapes and entire planets were flickering in and out of existence. This is happening right now, in over 300 sectors throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council has been covering it up by calling it natural phenomena, but it's accelerating. Within 50 years, the dimensional barriers will collapse completely, and this entire galaxy will be pulled into the void between realities. Zixthara felt sick. How many people will die? Everyone. Every living being in this dimension unless we act quickly. What can be done? Dr. Chen smiled, and for the first time since meeting him, Zixthara saw genuine hope in his expression. We have a solution. We've developed technology that can repair the dimensional barriers and stabilize reality, but it requires cooperation from the existing galactic government. The Council will never agree to work with humans, Corax said bitterly. They've built their entire authority on the idea that humanity is extinct and dangerous. Which brings us to the difficult part, Dr. Chen replied. We need your help, Commander. You and your crew are the first non-humans to see the truth. You have a choice to make. The screens around them went dark except for one, which showed a real-time image of the galaxy with red zones spreading like an infection through normal space. You can return to your ship, report to the Council that you found nothing, and let the cover-up continue until reality collapses and everyone dies, Dr. Chen said quietly. Or you can help us contact the leaders who might be willing to listen, the ones who put saving lives above maintaining power. Zixthera looked at her crew. Veltara was staring at her scientific readings with an expression of wonder and terror. Corax was studying the evidence of Council deception with growing anger. Her security officers looked confused but determined to follow whatever orders she gave. If we help you, she said slowly. What happens next? We begin the process of bringing humanity home, not as conquerors or rulers, but as partners in healing the damage we caused. We share the technology and knowledge we've gained, and we work together to build a stable, peaceful galaxy. And if the Council refuses, Dr. Chen's expression became grave. Then we implement the solution without their permission. But that would require us to override their authority entirely, which could cause political chaos at exactly the moment when we need unity. Zixthera thought about her oath to protect the galaxy, about the lives of trillions of beings hanging in the balance, about the lies her own government had told her. Dr. Chen, she said finally, I need to see proof that you can actually fix this problem. Show me the technology. He nodded approvingly. Follow me. He led them to another chamber, this one containing what looked like a miniature galaxy floating in the center of the room. But as they got closer, Zixthera realized it wasn't a model. It was an actual piece of space-time, complete with tiny stars and planets. This is a dimensional fragment from a reality where we successfully repaired the damage, Dr. Chen explained. We use it to test our restoration techniques. As they watched, he manipulated controls that seemed to respond to his thoughts. The tiny galaxy began to change, its structure becoming more stable, its stars burning brighter. The process works by rebuilding the quantum foundations of space-time itself, he continued. It's delicate work that requires precise coordination across multiple dimensions, but it can completely restore damaged reality. Veltara was practically vibrating with excitement. Commander, if this technology is real, if it actually works, we could save everyone. Zixthara made her decision. Dr. Chen will help you, but we do this carefully, step by step. The galaxy has had enough of humanity's bold experiments. Dr. Chen smiled. Agreed, Commander. We've learned the value of patience. Let's begin by contacting the council members who still believe in doing the right thing. As her crew began working with Dr. Chen to plan their approach to the council, Zixthara couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at the edge of a new age. Whether that age would be one of peace and cooperation or chaos and destruction would depend on choices made in the next few days. The galaxy was about to change forever. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 200-year history. Representatives from 47 species crowded into the Great Chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of sounds, smells, and electromagnetic signals that the translation systems struggled to process. Zixthara stood at the speaker's podium, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes upon her. In the weeks since her encounter with Dr. Chen, she had carefully built a coalition of council members willing to listen to evidence that challenged everything they thought they knew about reality. Honored representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. What I am about to share with you will shake the foundations of our civilization, but it is information that could save every living being in this galaxy. Council Leader Morden sat in his elevated chair, his three eyes showing barely contained fury. He had opposed calling this session, but too many representatives had demanded answers about the increasing reports of spatial anomalies throughout council space. Commander Zixthara, he interrupted, you were ordered to observe and report. Instead, you made unauthorized contact with an unknown vessel and are now spreading panic with wild theories about dimensional collapse. With respect, Council Leader, these are not theories. They are facts supported by evidence that I am prepared to present. She activated the holographic display system, and Dr. Chen's carefully prepared presentation began. The chamber fell silent as images of reality damage appeared in the air above them. Cracks in space-time, star systems being pulled into impossible configurations, and planets flickering between dimensions. Representative Cathara of the Crystalline Collective spoke first, her voice ringing like struck metal. These images, we have received similar reports from our outer colonies. Our scientists assumed they were natural phenomena. Because that's what you were told to assume, Zixthara replied. She activated another part of the presentation, showing classified council documents that proved the leadership had been suppressing information about reality damage for decades. The chamber erupted in angry voices as representatives realized they had been lied to. Morden raised his hand for silence, but many ignored him. This evidence was obtained illegally, he declared. These documents are classified for good reason. Spreading panic about theoretical danger serves no one. Theoretical? Dr. Chen's voice suddenly filled the chamber. His image appeared in the holographic display, causing several representatives to recoil in fear. You're dead, whispered Representative Yoltak of the Hive Minds. Humans are extinct. We are very much alive, Dr. Chen replied calmly, and we have returned to help fix the damage our ancestors caused. But first, the truth must be told. The presentation continued, showing how the council had been using technology derived from human research while publicly maintaining that such research was too dangerous. Every faster-than-light communication system, every gravity manipulator, every energy weapon in council space was based on modifications of human dark matter experiments. You have been causing exactly the kind of damage you claim to be preventing, Dr. Chen explained. Every time you use these technologies without understanding their underlying principles, you weaken the barriers between dimensions. Representative Maltor of the warrior clan stood up, his massive form radiating aggression. Even if this is true, why should we trust humans? You nearly destroyed the galaxy once before. Because we learned from our mistakes, Dr. Chen replied. We spent 2 centuries in exile, studying the damage we caused and developing solutions. We take responsibility for our errors and we're here to fix them. Morden finally managed to restore order to the chamber. Enough, this creature speaks of exile and return, but provides no proof of his claims. For all we know, this is an elaborate deception designed to undermine council authority. Then let me provide proof, Dr. Chen said. The holographic display changed to show a real-time map of the galaxy. Red zones indicating reality damage were spreading visibly as they watched. This is happening right now. The dimensional barriers are failing faster than our projections indicated. You have perhaps 30 years before complete collapse, not 50 as we originally calculated. The chamber fell silent as the full scope of the crisis became clear. Even representatives who had opposed listening to the human evidence could see the undeniable spread of the damage zones. Representative Velmira of the Peaceful Consortium spoke with quiet dignity. Dr. Chen, assuming your claims are accurate, what solution do you propose? Complete cooperation, he replied immediately. We need to stop using the dangerous technologies immediately and begin implementing our repair systems. But this requires trust and coordination between humanity and the existing galactic government. Impossible, Morden declared. The Council will never surrender its authority to extinct primitives who caused this problem in the first place. We are not asking for surrender, Dr. Chen said patiently. We're offering partnership, humans and aliens working together to heal the galaxy. But Zixthara could see that the chamber was dividing into factions. Some representatives were clearly willing to consider the human proposal, while others were rallying behind Morden's position of rejection and resistance. Representative Korsvin of the Logical Assembly raised a tentacle for attention. Dr. Chen, you claim to have spent 2 centuries developing solutions. Why not simply implement them without consulting us? Dr. Chen's expression became sad. Because forced solutions often create more problems than they solve. We learned that lesson too. Real healing requires willing cooperation from everyone involved. And if that cooperation is not forthcoming, pressed Korsvin, then we will implement the solution anyway because the alternative is the death of everyone in this galaxy. But we would much prefer to work with you rather than around you. The threat was politely delivered but unmistakable. Zixthara saw several representatives exchange worried glances. The humans were offering partnership, but they were also making it clear that opposition would not stop them. Morden stood up, his form radiating authority and anger. The Council recognizes no authority higher than its own. If these humans truly exist, they will submit to Council oversight and regulation, or they will be treated as hostile invaders. Council leader, Dr. Chen replied. We have observed your civilization for decades. We know about your military capabilities, your strategic resources, your political divisions. We do not wish to fight you, but if you force us to choose between your authority and galactic survival, the choice is simple. The holographic display changed again, showing images that made several representatives gasp in shock. Fleets of human ships that dwarfed anything in Council space, technology that seemed to bend reality itself, and beings of immense power who clearly commanded forces beyond current understanding. We are not the same species that left this dimension 2 centuries ago, Dr. Chen continued. We have grown beyond your ability to regulate or control, but we remember what it was like to be limited by primitive thinking. So we offer cooperation instead of domination. Representative Ithsala of the Ancient Watchers spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. Young human, your species was always dangerous because you confused power with wisdom. Have you truly learned the difference? Dr. Chen was quiet for a long moment before answering. Elder Ithsala, we have learned that true power lies not in the ability to impose your will, but in the wisdom to know when not to use that ability. We offer our help because it is needed, not because we seek to rule. The chamber buzzed with discussion as representatives tried to process the impossible situation. Zixthara could see the battle lines forming. Progressive representatives who were willing to consider cooperation, traditionalists who would resist any change to the existing order, and pragmatists who would support whatever option offered the best chance of survival. Morden called for a recess to allow private discussions among the various factions. As representatives dispersed into smaller groups, Zixathara found herself surrounded by colleagues demanding more information. "Is it real?" asked Representative Dalmore of the Trading Federation. "Can they actually fix the dimensional damage?" "I've seen their technology in action," Zixathara replied. "It's beyond anything we can imagine. But they seem genuinely committed to helping rather than conquering." "And if the Council refuses to cooperate?" Zixathara looked around the chamber, at the representatives of dozens of species trying to decide the fate of their civilizations. "Then I think we're about to discover whether humanity has really learned the lessons they claim to have learned." As the recess continued, she noticed that Council Leader Morden was meeting privately with representatives from the most militaristic species. Their body language suggested they were planning something more aggressive than mere political resistance. The next few hours would determine whether the galaxy would move forward into a new age of cooperation or backward into a devastating conflict that could destroy what little time remained before reality itself collapsed. Somewhere, in the space between dimensions, humanity waited for an answer. The reality storm hit without warning. Zixathara was in her quarters aboard the Meridian reviewing diplomatic proposals when the ship's hull began to vibrate in ways that defied physics. Through her viewport, she watched in horror as space itself cracked like broken glass. Stars twisted into spiral patterns that hurt to look at, and the darkness between them pulsed with hungry light. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the ship as her crew struggled to understand what was happening. The storm wasn't affecting their ship directly, but they could see other vessels in the area being pulled into the cracks in reality. Some ships stretched like rubber before snapping back into impossible shapes. Others simply disappeared, leaving behind only brief flashes of light. "Commander, to the bridge." Corax's voice came through the communication system, tight with panic. Zixathara ran through corridors that seemed to bend around her as the reality storm affected the space around their ship. When she reached the bridge, she found her crew staring at readings that made no sense. "Report," she ordered. "Commander, we're detecting reality storms in over 50 star systems simultaneously," Veltara called out from her science station. "The dimensional barriers are collapsing much faster than Dr. Chen predicted." On the main screen, they could see the Council's emergency response fleets trying to evacuate populated systems before the storms arrived. But there were too many storms and not enough ships. Billions of beings were about to die. Commander Jekamal reported from communications, "I'm receiving a transmission from the human ship. Dr. Chen is requesting immediate contact with you." "Put him through." Dr. Chen's image appeared on the screen, but he looked different now. His form was more translucent and reality seemed to bend more severely around him. "Commander, we're out of time. The Council's continued use of unstable technology has triggered a cascade failure. We must implement the repair protocol immediately. What can we do to help?" "You need to convince the moderate factions of the Council to authorize cooperation. We can stop this, but we need their ships and personnel to coordinate the repair effort across multiple star systems simultaneously." Zixathara looked at the spreading chaos on her tactical display. "Dr. Chen, Council Leader Mordoon has convinced the military factions to treat you as hostile invaders. They're mobilizing battle fleets instead of evacuation ships." Dr. Chen's expression became infinitely sad. "Then we will have to work around them. Stand by, Commander. You're about to see what humanity has become." The transmission ended, and for a moment the bridge was silent except for the continuing alarms. Then Veltara gasped and pointed at her scanner readings. "Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures appearing throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of them. They're huge." The main screen shifted to show a galaxy-wide tactical display. Ships were appearing from nowhere, emerging from what looked like tiers in space itself. But these weren't ordinary ships. They were enormous organic-looking vessels that seemed to be made of living light and crystallized thought. "Are those human ships?" Corax asked in amazement. "I think so," Zixathara replied, "but they're unlike anything from our historical records." As they watched, the human fleet began to spread throughout the galaxy with impossible speed. Ships appeared in systems threatened by reality storms, not to attack the Council forces there, but to begin some kind of massive technological operation. "Commander?" Dr. Chen's voice came through their communication system again, though his image didn't appear this time. "We are beginning the Great Repair. This will take approximately 72 hours to complete. During this time, all space travel should be suspended, and all dark matter-based technologies must be shut down immediately. The Council will never agree to shut down their entire technological infrastructure. Zixathera replied. Then we will shut it down for them. Across the galaxy, every Council ship, every space station, every artificial gravity generator began to power down simultaneously. It wasn't an attack. The systems weren't being damaged or destroyed. They were simply being convinced to stop working. How are they doing this? Veltara wondered aloud. Dr. Chen's voice answered her question. We learned to speak the language that matter itself understands. We're not forcing your technology to shut down. We're asking it politely to take a rest. The response from the Council's military was swift and predictable. Battle fleets throughout the galaxy opened fire on the human ships with every weapon they possessed. Energy beams, projectile weapons, and exotic matter disruptors all struck their targets with perfect accuracy and had absolutely no effect. Their weapons are passing right through the human ships, Corax reported in amazement. It's like they're shooting at ghosts. Not ghosts, Dr. Chen's voice explained. We exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Your weapons are only affecting our presence in this dimension, which is just a small part of what we are now. On the tactical display, they could see the human ships beginning their real work. Streams of energy that looked like liquid starlight flowed from ship to ship, creating a vast network that spanned the entire galaxy. Where the energy touched areas of reality damage, the cracks in space-time began to heal. It's working, Veltara whispered. The reality storms are stabilizing, but the Council's response was becoming more desperate. Morden's voice suddenly filled the galaxy-wide communication networks. All loyal species. The humans are attempting to subjugate our civilization. Resist with everything you have. The response surprised everyone. Instead of rallying to their leader's call, most Council ships simply stopped fighting. Their crews had seen the reality storms, had watched space itself crack and break, had witnessed the human ships healing the damage instead of causing more. Representative Dalmore's voice came through on an open channel. Council Leader Morden, the humans are saving our systems, not attacking them. I'm ordering all Trading Federation vessels to cooperate with the repair effort. Similar declarations came from dozens of other representatives as the moderate factions chose survival over pride. Even some military commanders began ignoring orders to attack, choosing instead to assist with evacuation efforts in the most damaged areas. Commander Zixathera, Dr. Chen's voice returned to their communication system. We have a request. Would you be willing to serve as liaison between the human fleet and the cooperative Council factions? Your voice has been instrumental in building trust. Of course, she replied without hesitation. Thank you. Please observe what happens next. This is the part of the plan we hoped we wouldn't need to use. The main screen changed to show the most heavily damaged sector of the galaxy, where reality storms had been raging for months. As they watched, massive tiers opened in space, and through them came ships unlike anything they had seen before. These vessels carried the mixed crews that Dr. Chen had hinted at. Humans worked alongside beings that looked like evolved versions of every known species in the galaxy. There were creatures that resembled Zixathera's own people, but taller and more graceful, with additional eyes that seemed to see into other dimensions. There were evolved versions of Corax's reptilian species, their scales now able to change color to match their thoughts. Those are, Corax began, then stopped as understanding dawned. Your people, Dr. Chen confirmed, versions of every species in this galaxy, who found refuge in the human diaspora when their own realities collapsed. They've been waiting 2 centuries to come home. The emotional impact was overwhelming. These weren't human conquerors. They were family members returning from exile, bringing with them cousins and friends from other realities where cooperation had been achieved sooner. As the great repair work continued, representatives from the returning diaspora began contacting their species' governments. The conversations were awkward at first. How do you talk to a version of yourself from another dimension? But the shared biology and cultural memories created bonds that transcended dimensional barriers. Council Leader Mordoun made one final attempt to rally resistance, but his support had completely evaporated. When a ship arrived carrying a version of himself from a reality where he had chosen cooperation over confrontation, even his closest allies abandoned his cause. This is unprecedented, Representative Ithsala observed, her ancient voice filled with wonder. We are witnessing the reunion of civilizations separated by the barriers of reality itself. The repair work reached its climax on the third day. The network of energy that connected the human ships suddenly blazed with light, visible from anywhere in the galaxy. For one perfect moment, every being in known space could see the quantum threads that connected all things, could feel the underlying unity that had always existed beneath the apparent separations of space and time. When the light faded, the galaxy was transformed. The reality storms were gone, space-time was stable, and the scars left by 2 centuries of dimensional damage had been completely healed. But more importantly, the barriers between dimensions had been replaced with controlled gateways that would allow safe travel and communication between parallel realities. Dr. Chen's final transmission came through clearly, his image now solid and stable. The great repair is complete. Welcome to the multiversal community. We have much work to do together,